How's it going, everybody? I'm out here at Status Skateshop, Carlsbad, California, and today we're going to be talking about wheels. So there's three main components you want to think about when you're buying your wheels. So you got the size of the wheel, how big it is. We got the durometer, so that's how hard the wheel is. And then we got the shape of the wheel, whether it's like more of a conical or like a C shape. You don't gotta worry too much about the company. The two biggest ones being Spitfire and Bones. Basically, it's just different formulas of urethane. The main things you want to be worrying about is the three main components of the wheel. So starting off with the size of the wheel, with the street wheel, usually it's kind of smaller. Like this guy right here, it says 54 millimeter. These are 60 millimeter. So those are getting pretty big. So if you go any size over 54, then you're gonna need what's called a riser pad. When you got your board here, right? And you put your trucks mounted to the board, right? Once you put your wheel on there, you might start getting what's called wheel bite, where your wheel bites onto the board. And you don't want that, because when you're turning and you get that wheel bite, you're gonna be flying like Superman. So if you want these bigger wheels, then you get the riser pad, which will go under the truck, just like so. And it's gonna be higher up off the board so that wheel doesn't catch to get that wheel bite. When you're buying your wheels, you probably want to go around like 52 or 53 millimeter, and the bigger the wheel, the faster you're gonna go. Big longboard wheels like these nice orangutans. I love orangutans. When they're a lot bigger, they're gonna be going faster. But there's no way this wheel is gonna fit with this truck. It's not even gonna go on the board. So you can definitely push those aside. Anything over 60 is probably not gonna work on a street board like this. And when you start thinking about longboard wheels, that's a whole different topic. But that's basically the size of the wheel. I'd recommend staying around 54, 53. The bigger the wheel, the faster you're gonna be moving. The smaller the wheel, the quicker you can accelerate, so you can pick up speed a lot faster. But over a longer period of time, you're not gonna be moving as fast. And that's the size of the wheel. So the next component you wanna think about is the durometer, and that's how hard or soft the wheel is. So again, when you're thinking about longboard wheels, usually they're 78A, and that's very soft. So any longboard wheel you see is probably gonna be 78A. Most skateboard wheels, they're gonna be around 99 to 101. So the durometer I like to ride, this is a 99, so it's a little on the softer side, versus something like these are a 103. So these are actually pretty hard. Usually you get wheels that are either 99 or 101. Those are the most common durometers you get with wheels. Sometimes there's kind of weird measurements with the durometer, whereas these you can see they're 84B. Basically, since this is a 101A and this is a 84B, you just add 20 to the B rating, and that makes 104A. So these wheels are actually really hard, even though you see the 84 number on it. So these are the hardest wheels you're gonna find at this shop. I believe Bones comes out with 86B, which is gonna be even harder than this. And when you get a harder wheel, when you're at a skate park, you can see on the bottom it says skate park formula, because with a harder wheel, it's gonna be a lot smoother on smooth pavement. But when you're out in the streets, you're gonna feel every rock and pebble and bump because they're super hard. So that's why with longboard wheels, they're usually softer, so it's a lot more of a smooth ride over bumpy terrain. And when you have a harder wheel, it's easier to slide. So when you have a softer wheel, that wheel is gonna grip to the ground a lot better. So when you try and turn and power slide, it's not gonna slip as easily. So if you're looking for an all-terrain wheel, basically, there are different options like Ricta Clouds, like these right here, which are 78A. So they're pretty much the softness of a longboard wheel, but they're the size of a street wheel because they're 54 millimeter. So there's a lot of different options when it comes to the durometer of the wheels. And then lastly, it's the shape of the wheel. So there's two main shapes. There's either a conical wheel, or it's kind of coned in the middle like this, or it kind of dips down into the middle, and it's usually more squared off, which is what I really like to use, because when you have a squared off wheel, when you're trying to do a grind and you lock it into a ledge like this or a rail, it's not gonna slip out as easily. Whereas a rounder wheel like this, like that's what they call them, classicals, because they're more of a C shape. So basically the two main shapes you're gonna see in wheels is either a conical wheel or you're gonna see more of a C shape that's kind of more rounder. But with the rounder wheels, say if you're trying to lock into a grind and it kind of goes to the edge, since it's round, it's gonna slip off a little easier. So that's why I personally like the conical wheels. Although if you're trying to make quicker turns and do more power slides, this guy has a bigger riding patch. It's gonna be a lot more grippy. But with these guys, it has a smaller riding patch, so it's easier to do power slides. And because it's more round, you can kind of turn a lot easier. It has more turnability. So when you're picking wheels, it all really just depends on what you want to use them for. So if you're trying to do more technical grinds and ledge tricks and stuff, you might want kind of a harder conical wheel that's a little smaller. Whereas if you're going out into the streets and you're going over rough terrain, then you might want a little bigger wheel that's more C-shape and a little softer. So that's a couple things that you can think about when you're going to your skate shop and buying some wheels. If it were me and I had to choose between all these wheels over here, I'd probably go with these bones right here, the 53 millimeter, and they're conical, and they're 99A. So it's got all three of the things that I really like to ride. So these would be my wheel of choice right here. So if you live around Carlsbad, maybe swing on by here. We have plenty of wheels out here. We got like Speed Labs, and we got crazy OJs, Spitfires. There's some Orbs over here. And that's how you can choose some wheels at your local skate shop.